Tyrant represents an advanced class of bioengineered humans, developed either through direct infection with the primary T virus or by cloning existing specimens. This creation was part of a strategic initiative aimed at manufacturing super soldiers for combat scenarios. Between 1988 and 1998, Umbrella USA spearheaded this initiative under the Tyrant Project, which draws its name from the virus used in their development. Unlike common human mutants known as zombies, Tyrants are engineered with specific genetic enhancements that boost cognitive abilities, positioning them as the pinnacle of military bioweapons. Their superior intelligence was intended to make them exceptionally effective on the battlefield. Remarkably, the legacy of these specimens and their foundational research outlasted the downfall of the Umbrella Corporation itself. The Tyrant Project was initiated in 1988 with the goal of developing a sophisticated bioorganic weapon, or BO, for military applications. Challenges arose from the T virus's propensity for causing brain necrosis, which limited the success rate of creating viable BOWs, with only a few projects such as Cerberus and Hunter reaching notable success. This discrepancy led to divergent research strategies between Umbrella USA and Umbrella Europe, with the former focusing on enhancing physical attributes and the latter on maintaining cognitive functions. The Tyrant Project aimed to synthesize these qualities, seeking to create a bioweapon with both substantial physical power and the capacity to understand complex commands. Researchers at the T-A.L.O.S laboratory pinpointed that specific intelligence-related genes were necessary for the desired mutations. But such genetic profiles were rare, found in only 1 out of 10 million people. This realization necessitated the development of a new T virus strain to increase the pool of compatible subjects. Prototype production of Tyrants began in the late spring of 1998 with the completion of the Epsilon strain of the virus. This new strain induced mutations more rapidly, significantly enhancing the physical stature and strength of the subjects while minimizing cognitive deterioration. However, the accelerated mutation process was dangerously lethal, posing a significant risk of fatality during transformation. To mitigate this, convicts were procured for testing at the T-A.L.O.S laboratory, though the exact number of participants remains unclear. The project marked early successes with prototypes labeled T001, T002, and T011, indicating potentially up to 11 test subjects. The development process involved targeted infection and precise surgical interventions to maximize success rates. The Tyrant T001 was eventually discarded due to severe mental and skin deterioration caused by an excessive T virus dosage. This setback led to further refinements that enhanced the development processes for Tyrants T002 and T011. In May 1998, when an outbreak unleashed the virus within the T-A.L.O.S laboratory, a cloned embryo of a T002 was quickly evacuated for further research, securing the project's continuation despite the chaos. Following the initial success of the Tyrant prototypes and the development of the Epsilon strain, Umbrella unlocked the potential to scale up production of BOWs post-Mansion incident. Most Tyrants were cloned from the T002 model, yet Umbrella also explored other avenues such as the T-A.L.O.S project, which experimented with computer-assisted BOWs to enhance operational intelligence. In July 1998, the T011 was relocated from the T-A.L.O.S laboratory to contribute to the T-A.L.O.S initiative. Additionally, the cost-effective Bandersnatch project was launched to create bioweapons from individuals lacking the ideal genetic traits, resulting in creatures with compromised limb development. The process to genetically engineer clones of the Tyrant began promptly after the T002 clone was secured from the T-A.L.O.S facility. By the 23rd of July 1998, the first of the T103 series was engineered, which included both a standard model for mass production and a specialized Ivan variant designed as a personal guard for Umbrella executive, Colonel Sergei Vladimir. Production of the T103 models was initiated on Sheena Island by August, and new iterations such as the unique Thanatos and Tyrant Models C and R were concurrently being developed within Raccoon City. The Nemesis-T type, a variation of the T103 with a parasitic Nemesis Alpha replacing its brain, was also crafted, reviving concepts from the 1980s Nemesis project to enhance cognitive function. During Raccoon City's T-virus outbreak in September, several Tyrants were deployed, at least 6 T-103, alongside Nemesis-T, Thanatos, and Tyrant Models C and R. 5 T-103 models were sent to counter a Delta Force operation at the incineration disposal plant P-12A, with another dispatched to the Raccoon Police Station to ensure the elimination of local law enforcement and to search for the Golgotha virus. Thanatos was activated by Dr. Greg Mueller to target Umbrella mercenaries and protect his work. Nemesis-T was tasked with eliminating STARS officers to demonstrate its predatory and combat capabilities. The roles of Tyrant C and the final moments of Tyrant R, which rebelled against its handlers, remain less documented. Despite various operational failures, the production of T-103s continued on Sheena Island until it succumbed to a T-virus outbreak, by which time 78 T-103s had been produced. Post-1998, details on further Tyrant research are scant. A notable instance involved a Tyrant specimen being infected with the experimental T+G virus, labeled Tyrant 091. The T-011 met its end in the Caucasus laboratory during a 2003 raid. The last recorded deployment of Tyrants occurred in 2011 in the Eastern Slav Republic, where 3 unidentified Tyrants were activated during a liquor outbreak. Tyrant variants generally fall into 2 categories: infiltration types, which blend into human populations for covert operations, and combat types, designed for overt warfare and characterized by their towering stature and physical deformities. Infiltration Tyrants are equipped with clothing to aid their disguise and resemble humans closely, whereas combat Tyrants often appear nearly nude due to their grotesque mutations. In terms of physiology, Tyrants produce significantly more human growth hormone than typical zombies, with the shortest Tyrants nearing 7 feet in height, while others engineered by third parties can exceed 12 feet. Their strength is formidable, capable of jumping high, smashing through barriers, and even redirecting explosives with their clawed limbs, which develop on combat variants. Infiltration types like the T-103 lack such claws unless their power limiters are disabled. An unusual surgical enhancement in some Tyrants includes the addition of 1 or more large animal hearts, boosting their circulatory capacity. A super Tyrant occurs when a Tyrant's power limit is bypassed, typically after substantial damage. This transformation greatly enhances their physical capabilities and aggression, making them harder to control and defeat, shifting them into an uncontrollable berserker state. The following details pertain to the Tyrant models developed specifically through the Tyrant Project and subsequent bioweapons programs. This summary excludes individuals or entities merely possessing the potential for Tyrant or similar mutations.
What is that?
T-001. Known as the initial operational Tyrant model, the T-001 showcased dramatic mutations, including an exposed heart and spine, alongside a malfunctioning nervous system that resulted in muscle spasms. The Arclay laboratory team, under the auspices of the Tyrant Project, engineered this prototype as an early attempt to integrate enhanced intelligence into a human bioweapon for military applications. Despite its creation before the more refined T-002, the T-001 experienced significant side effects due to an excessive dosage of the T-virus during its inception. These included neurological impairments, diminished cognitive abilities, and severe skin degradation. Although it exhibited formidable strength, its reduced mental capacity rendered it a suboptimal outcome, leading to its storage at the Nest facility for eventual disposal. Unexpectedly, the T-001 was released during an assault by the Queen Leech on July 24th. It subsequently engaged in combat with STARS operatives, including Dr. Albert Wesker and Rebecca Chambers, as well as former Marine Second Lieutenant Billy Cohen. Despite its resilience and the challenge it posed across 3 encounters, it was ultimately defeated. The T-001 met its end when it was destroyed during the self-destruct sequence of the Umbrella training facility, marking a fiery conclusion to its brief but tumultuous operational period.
It's magnificent.
T-002, representing a significant enhancement over its predecessor T-001, it was activated by Dr. Albert Wesker and encountered by STARS members Chris Redfield, Jill Valentine, Barry Burton, and Rebecca Chambers, who ultimately defeated it. The T-002 marked a pivotal success for Umbrella USA's R&D efforts, aiming to forge bioweapons capable of superseding traditional soldiers in combat. This project was initially hampered by the scarcity of a specific intelligence-related gene necessary for the desired mutation, which made standard human subjects susceptible to fatal outcomes during transformation. In the 1990s, advances with the Epsilon strain allowed for progress, although many convicts, selected for their genetic traits, did not survive the experimentation. Despite considerable advancements, the T-002's development was abruptly interrupted when the Queen Leech caused a containment breach, releasing the T-virus Epsilon strain as an airborne pathogen and infecting several researchers. This incident halted all formal reporting and subsequent enhancements to the T-002's physiology. The bioweapon was eventually used in a live-fire exercise against the STARS team in the infamous Mansion incident of May 1998. This model showed increased aggression and strength before being eliminated by a rocket launcher strike on the Arklay laboratory helipad.
Codename T-A.L.O.S, a pinnacle of biological weapons, all controlled by the Red Queen computer, the ultimate weapon.
The T-011, or T-A.L.O.S, initially a part of the North American branch's Tyrant development, the T-011 was the prototype for T-A.L.O.S, a highly advanced bioweapon outfitted with cybernetic enhancements and an integrated multiple rocket launcher. This initiative was an answer to Europe's Nemesis-T type, combining bioweapon autonomy with heavy combat capabilities. The Arklay laboratory team, striving for better control over Tyrants, which often suffered from unpredictable mutations, incorporated brain-chip connections that allowed remote command through supercomputers like the Red Queen. The T-A.L.O.S was designed not only for improved obedience, but also to match the firepower of heavy military assets. Unlike standard Tyrants, which were designed for physical supremacy and quick response, T-A.L.O.S was equipped with reinforced armor and long-distance weaponry to maintain its natural agility while significantly boosting its combat effectiveness. However, its development was interrupted by the T-virus outbreak orchestrated by ex-Umbrella researcher James Marcus. Before the Spencer Mansion could be compromised, Sergei Vladimir secured the T-A.L.O.S prototype, ensuring its continuation at Umbrella's Russian facility. The completed T-A.L.O.S was later deployed in a confrontation at the Stronghold on February 18, 2003, where it was ultimately destroyed by Chris Redfield and Jill Valentine. Despite its capabilities, T-A.L.O.S underwent a forced mutation after significant damage, losing its armored weaponry and mobility for more brute physical attacks using its now enlarged and clawed appendages. The T-A.L.O.S leverages its Tyrant base, enhancing it with remote computer controls and a superior cardiovascular system for unmatched agility in a bioorganic weapon. Its body armor, crafted from a special metallic alloy, defends against heavy artillery while controlling T-virus mutations. Equipped with a homing multiple rocket launcher system, T-A.L.O.S could engage both close and distant targets effectively. Despite its initial form being heavily armed and armored, subsequent mutations saw T-A.L.O.S transform, stripping it of its long-range capabilities and rooting itself to strategic points, like the overhead structures, to maximize its melee attacks. The Bandersnatch project emerged as a cost-effective offshoot of the Tyrant program, devised to utilize subjects who lacked the ideal genetic profile for Tyrant conversion, but were still viable for bioweapon development. The focus on affordability was born from the high costs and limited pool of suitable candidates for Tyrant creation. Developed potentially on Rockford Island, the Bandersnatch was marked by compromises in its biological design, notably the rapid atrophy of its left arm soon after creation. By December 1998, several Bandersnatch were stationed at the Rockford Island Military Training Center, intended to gather combat data against trained anti-T-A.L.O.S soldiers. These creatures were later engaged during the HCF raid led by Dr. Albert Wesker, which also triggered a T-virus outbreak on the island. During the chaos, Wesker managed to secure the Bandersnatch research, which subsequently informed further bioweapon experimentation. The Jabberwock S3 represents an advanced iteration of the Bandersnatch concept, developed by a secretive organization in competition with Umbrella. This variant was enhanced with the T. Veronica virus, significantly boosting its capabilities. Drug lord Javier Hidalgo acquired several units of Jabberwock S3 prior to a U.S. government investigation into his activities in 2002. This bioweapon features 8 sickle-shaped arms, 3 of which are smaller, possessing extraordinary strength. In a defensive posture, it uses these arms to shield its vulnerable heart, rendering conventional firearms largely ineffective. Enhanced by the T. Veronica virus, the Jabberwock S3 not only mirrors some aspects of the mutations seen in Steve Burnside, but also displays a heightened intelligence, capable of understanding and executing complex commands under various circumstances.
You're a murderer! Now die! Why?
The Hypnos-T type represented an evolutionary leap in the Tyrant series, engineered from the ground up with cells expressing the unique Hypnos gene. This gene was crucial for its development. It facilitated a brutal form of natural selection by eliminating weaker cells and promoting the replication of the most robust ones, continuously refining the organism. This innovation was spearheaded by Commander Vincent Goldman, a fervid proponent of eugenics within Umbrella's ranks. The creation of Hypnos-T aimed to produce a fiercer lineage of tyrants following the relative success of the T-103 models. The Hypnos-T was bioengineered to become more aggressive through the secretion of a neurotransmitter known as beta-heteronon-serotonin, which heightened its predatory instincts. The creature's first notable action, depending on narrative variations, involved the elimination of either Andy Holland, the UT commander, or Vincent Goldman himself, witnessed by Detective Ark Thompson. After a confrontation in a cramped corridor, the tyrant seemed to be subdued. However, the creature was far from defeated. In its dormant state, it continued to undergo mutations that augmented its muscle mass, significantly enlarged its claws, and transformed its jaw and teeth into more lethal weapons. The final showdown occurred on a helipad, where despite a fierce struggle, the Hypnos-T type met its demise. During a critical moment, it leapt towards Thompson's escaping helicopter, only to be struck directly in the abdomen by a Sidewinder missile. A second missile quickly followed, ensuring its total destruction.
One masterpiece is enough.
T-A.L.O.S was an experimental tyrant synthesized from insights gleaned from the T-002 and T-103 models. It was the brainchild of Dr. Greg Muller, who engineered it from a human subject, aiming to develop a more lethal bioweapon. Dr. Muller, rebelling against Umbrella, claimed T-A.L.O.S as his own and stationed it at Raccoon University, ready to eliminate any intruders. During the T-virus outbreak, Dr. Muller formed an alliance with Peter Jenkins at Raccoon University, promising to assist in creating a T-virus vaccine. He proposed using T-blood harvested from Thanatos as a key ingredient. However, Peter soon realized Dr. Muller's true motive was to wield the vaccine as leverage against Umbrella, leading to a breakdown in their collaboration. Umbrella, unaware of Muller's defection, dispatched a biohazard countermeasure service team under Operation Emperor's Mushroom with orders to secure or neutralize Thanatos. The operation was set for the early hours of October 1st, 1998. Muller, anticipating Umbrella's move, unleashed Thanatos to confront the team. The mercenaries, including Karl, Dustin, and Nikolai Zinoviev, engaged Thanatos but were unable to subdue it. In the chaos, Thanatos went on a killing spree, subsequently being used by Greg to further his research after abducting one of the mercenaries. Thanatos subsequently chased a group of survivors across the university. Although it initially failed to capture them, an electric shock temporarily incapacitated it, allowing the survivors to escape with a sample of T-blood. Following the assassination of Dr. Muller by Nikolai, who also set off C4 charges, Thanatos was caught in the blast. The explosion caused significant damage to both the creature and the university structure, triggering a mutation into its more formidable super tyrant form, dubbed Thanatos R. After mutating, Thanatos continued its relentless pursuit of the survivors. It managed to confront them multiple times, proving nearly overwhelming on each occasion. In a final standoff at the university's front square, the survivors utilized either conventional weaponry or a novel approach, injecting it with the daylight antigen, a vaccine derived from Thanatos' own blood, using an ampule shooter found on a fallen soldier. This last-ditch effort allowed the survivors to incapacitate Thanatos and flee the city, though it remained uncertain if Thanatos had developed a resistance to the daylight solution.
Jesus Christ!
The T-103 was the first mass-produced Tyrant, a culmination of the Tyrant Project's ambition to create highly capable human bioorganic weapons. Originating from modified clones of the T-002 model, these Tyrants were rolled out in 1998. Notable for their near-human intelligence, the T-103s could execute complex commands, making them versatile on the battlefield for roles such as bodyguards, assassins, and special operatives tasked with retrieving critical items. Development of the T-103 took place in May 1998 at the Umbrella Underground Laboratory beneath Raccoon City, focusing on enhancements and stability to prevent the autonomy issues seen with the T-002. Mass production began at the Tyrant plant on Sheena Island after initial trials and modifications. These Tyrants saw their first action in July 1998 when Colonel Vladimir and an Ivan variant engaged in operations within the Raccoon Forest and against escaped bioweapons. During the 1998 Raccoon City destruction incident, multiple T-103s were deployed. Notably, the Nemesis-T type was sent into the city with a mission to eliminate STARS members, serving as a field test of its target recognition capabilities. Meanwhile, 6 T-103s were assigned to recover a crucial viral sample and combat Delta Force operatives. All were ultimately destroyed in their missions. The model line was eventually discontinued, but it laid a foundational blueprint for future bioweapon development. T-078 was an experimental version of the T-103 Tyrant series, notable for operating without a limiter coat to assess the model's performance without this control mechanism. This Tyrant was uniquely modified, featuring blunted claws and missing an arm, which were used as part of its testing parameters. It was deployed to Rockford Island after being transported there under the supervision of Umbrella Security Service Agent Hunk, following orders from the island's commander, Alfred Ashford, 7th Earl Ashford. During an attack on the island by the hostile forces of HCF, Alfred Ashford released T-078 with the specific objective of eliminating Claire Redfield and Steve Burnside as they attempted to escape. Despite its initial failure to stop their departure, T-078 managed to board their C-130 Hercules aircraft during takeoff. In the ensuing confrontation inside the cargo bay, Claire cleverly used a cargo crate to forcibly eject the Tyrant from the plane, ultimately sending it plummeting into the sea below, where it was destroyed. Tyrant 091, this experimental variant of the T-103, was infused with the 0.9.1 version of the T+G virus, marking it as a unique trial in Tyrant evolution. Unfortunately, the Tyrant 091 was deemed a failure due to its inability to generate an electrical current, an expected outcome of the T+G virus, and its vulnerable physiology, notably an exposed heart protruding from its back. Distinct from typical Tyrants, the T-091 developed tentacles instead of clawed arms. U.S. Stratcom agent Bruce McGivern successfully eliminated it shortly after its release. The flaws observed in the T-091 were addressed during the transformation of Morpheus D. Duval. Ivan is a highly sophisticated offshoot of the T-103 line, designed specifically to serve as a bodyguard to Colonel Sergei Vladimir. Unlike the standard Tyrant models, Ivans were crafted to blend seamlessly into human society, displaying high intelligence and human-like appearance. At least 2 Ivans were created. Both were eventually tasked to eliminate Albert Wesker due to his betrayal at the Caucasus facility in 2003. Despite their advanced capabilities and training in firearms, the Ivans were no match for Wesker's superhuman strength and were swiftly defeated. Ivans distinguished themselves from the traditional T-103 models with their attire and physical enhancements. They wear white protective coats and boots with black shoelaces, contrasting the green outfits of their predecessors, and are equipped with wraparound sunglasses that include a head-mounted display. These modifications enhance their ability to assimilate into human environments. Despite their sophisticated appearance and enhanced comprehension of human language, Ivans retain the ability to morph into their super tyrant form upon sustaining fatal damage, underscoring their inherent bioweapon nature.
Jill!
Brad!
We've got to... Jill! Help!
The Nemesis-T type was an experimental T-103 variant, enhanced with the Nemesis Alpha parasite engineered by Umbrella Europe. While lacking in physical prowess, the Nemesis project staff developed this parasite to counter brain damage and mental degradation, common side effects of T-virus infection. The Nemesis-T type was intended to demonstrate superior intelligence and hunting abilities, as evidenced when one variant, Nemesis-T02, was deployed in Raccoon City with orders to eliminate any surviving STARS members. It was ultimately destroyed by Jill Valentine. The Nemesis-T types were developed at Umbrella Europe's No. 6 laboratory and represented the culmination of the Nemesis project, which successfully implanted Nemesis Alpha parasites into T-103 hosts. The goal was to create a highly intelligent and powerful bioorganic weapon. Although several Nemesis-T types were created, only one, Nemesis-T02, saw active combat, earning the nickname Pursuer. Umbrella Pharmaceuticals aimed to develop bioorganic weaponry for military use and to fund its eugenics program. A key obstacle in the T-virus project was the resulting lack of intelligence, which limited the practicality of such weapons. Both Umbrella USA and Umbrella Europe tackled this issue with separate projects. The Tyrant project focused on creating human mutants without sacrificing intelligence, while the Nemesis project aimed to use parasitic organisms to control the brain functions of bioorganic weapon hosts. In 1998, after developing the successful T-002 and T-103 models, Umbrella USA's Arclay laboratory was destroyed, and Umbrella Europe restarted the Nemesis project using T-103 clones as test subjects. The resulting Nemesis-T types demonstrated high intelligence and self-awareness, even attempting to escape the laboratory. During the Raccoon City outbreak, Umbrella Europe dispatched its BOWs, including Nemesis-T02, to hunt down and kill STARS members, with instructions to recognize them by their photographs. The Pursuer targeted Brad Vickers and Jill Valentine, succeeding in killing Vickers or infecting him with the T-virus, while Jill became its primary target. After several encounters, Nemesis-T02 mutated due to injuries sustained and was ultimately killed by Jill with a ferromagnetic infantry use next-generation railgun. Nemesis-T types wore protective coats similar to T-103s, but were enhanced for better integration into human society. They had higher intelligence and understanding of human language and were trained in complex firearm use. Upon sustaining fatal damage, they could transform into a super tyrant form, emphasizing their bioorganic nature. Tyrant R, code number T0400TP, was an advanced experimental version of the T-103 series, distinguished by its 2 claws and a sophisticated cybernetic control system. Developed within the confines of Umbrella's R&D Center in Raccoon City, Tyrant R represented an evolution in bioorganic weapon control technology, moving away from traditional methods towards integrated programming. Before the chaos of the Raccoon City destruction incident, the Tyrant had not yet been activated, even as the facility ramped up production of hunters for combat testing against it. When the outbreak ensued, the hunters escaped, prompting the activation of Tyrant R in the early hours of October 1st. The scientist Carter initiated the Tyrant to contain the Hunter Rs that were loose in the facility. However, the situation escalated when Tyrant R became self-aware during the crisis. In a dramatic showdown, it expressed its newfound autonomy by attacking researcher Carter and others who were trying to escape, killing Carter in the process. As the facility descended into lockdown, Tyrant R's programming was briefly overridden by the survivors, but it continued its pursuit. As the survivors navigated the wreckage of the city, Tyrant R underwent further mutations, increasing its power. It eventually engaged in a confrontation on a highway overpass, but was temporarily absorbed by another creature, Nyx, which was later defeated, freeing Tyrant R once again. Despite its enhanced resilience and regenerative capabilities, Tyrant R's rampage came to an end when it encountered Ada Wong. After a fierce battle, Wong managed to subdue Tyrant R, which was ultimately destroyed along with the rest of Raccoon City when the area was bombarded with missiles. The Tyrant C was a prototype Tyrant model which saw action in Raccoon City during the 1998 Raccoon City destruction incident. Its precise origins are unknown, though it appears to have been produced following the completion of the T-103 model. During the Eastern Slav Civil War in February 2011, a series of unidentified tyrants closely resembling the T-103 model appeared, displaying batch numbers such as 008, 013, and 016 on their shoulders. These tyrants were deployed by Svetlana Belikova, the head of state, from a secret facility beneath the presidential palace as a last resort to stop U.S. federal agent Leon S. Kennedy, spy Ada Wong, and secessionist leader Alexander Kozachenko, who had infiltrated her operations. The conflict escalated when Belikova's security forces were overwhelmed, prompting her to release 2 tyrants to combat Kozachenko and his Plaga-controlled lickers. However, the tyrants were outmaneuvered and fell into an elevator shaft due to their combined weight. A third tyrant, labeled 013, subsequently engaged but was tricked into causing an explosion, severely damaging it but not destroying it. Surviving the explosion, 013 mutated into a super tyrant and relentlessly pursued Kozachenko and Kennedy. The chase culminated in a dramatic confrontation where Leon, now allied with Kozachenko, managed to distract the tyrant long enough to execute a risky maneuver with a tank. After a tense battle, Leon used the tank's turret to deliver a lethal shot that decapitated the tyrant, ultimately crushing it under the tank's weight. The celebrations were cut short when 013's super tyrant counterparts arrived, but were swiftly eliminated by aircraft during a joint U.S.-Russian military intervention. This particular Tyrant series bore strong physical similarities to the T-103, but stood out due to its greater height and unique adaptations. In their super Tyrant form, they lacked the typically exposed heart and featured a single, moderately mutated claw arm, granting them unprecedented dexterity. Their standard form was powerful enough to kill lickers effortlessly, showcasing a resilience and strength that significantly surpassed earlier Tyrant models. Hey, don't go just yet. If you enjoyed my video, I'd love to recommend another one for you to watch.